Remember that messy business way back when with Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl? Among the R-rated fallout was a whole new phrase. Ladies and gentlemen, the wardrobe malfunction. Well, thanks to a couple of suddenly famous and suddenly former Northwest Airlines pilots, we've got another new phrase to chew on: situational awareness, as in the pilots lost situational awareness. That's how the authorities put it anyway, when those pilots made their big mistake last week. They've also lost occupational awareness, at least temporarily, which is to say they've had their licenses revoked pending a full investigation. Makes sense to me. A full investigation is exactly what you need when you miss your runway by 100+ miles, don't you think? Flying past the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport when Minneapolis-St. Paul is technically speaking your destination tends to make people curious, not to mention furious. Not that everybody was upset. One East Coast friend of mine was very impressed to read that the plane had missed its mark so completely that it actually flew out of Minnesota airspace and into Wisconsin. He said it was the first evidence he'd ever seen that Minnesota and Wisconsin were in fact separate places. Wise guy. Anyway, I can tell you that a couple of flight attendants working a different flight on a different airline earlier this week weren't buying the pilot's explanation, or explanations, since they kept changing. First, it was a heated discussion over some airline policy that supposedly distracted them. Then it was a laptop tutorial on revised pilot scheduling procedures. Meanwhile, whatever they were doing up there, they weren't responding to messages. Lots of messages from increasingly antsy air traffic controllers. Nothing but silence from the cockpit for more than an hour because they were distracted, as opposed to, say, dozing. My flight attendants weren't buying it. They said there's only one way those guys could have failed to see and maybe even hear all those nervous messages arriving. They were asleep, they said, both pilots at the same time. The phrase you're looking for is, "Oh my God."